I'm John Hunter. I shoot local bow fishing tournaments for the Greene Outdoors. At the Greene Outdoors, they have a full line of bow fishing products from Muzzy, AMS, and PSE. If you've never bow fished before, now would be a great time to get into it. It's early spring, the fish are starting to move into shallower water, they're easy to find, and it's just a great time to be outside. Now, one good thing about bow fishing is you've put your deer bow away and you've got all summer long that you just sit there and you don't have anything to do. Well, with bow fishing, you get out, shoot your bow, and stay in shape for the next deer season. Now, I shoot local tournaments. I've been shooting bows fishing for a little while. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I have on my bow to help you. Now what I've got here is I've got an AMS Fire Eagle. And on my AMS Fire Eagle, I have an AMS bottle reel, and I also have an AMS light. The light has a pressure switch on it so I can fish at night. Now, this bow right here, it's a dual cam bow, but you can shoot it as if it was a single cam or a recurve. You can snap shoot it, you can go to full draw. It's real easy to pull back. You can hold it there. It's a great bow to have. Now, the Greene Outdoors has this bow. They also have PSE. AMS makes the Fire Eagle. They have a Fish Hawk. They have a Fish Hawk Junior, and they have a Fish Hawk Mini. All great bows. They're waterproof, stainless steel components, and they will last you through the rigors of bow fishing. You can drop it. It's not going to hurt it. It's not like your deer hunting bow. Now, one thing you'll notice on these bow fishing bows is there's no sights. We try to shoot without sights because anything that's in front of this bow is the chance to get a string hung up in. So we don't use any sights. And there's a different other things. I've got an AMS wave rest on there. This is a good rest. So when you lay your arrow up there, it's got a roller in it. And it'll sit there and roll back and forth for smooth arrow release. Okay, now that you've got your bow and you've got a bottle reel on it, let me show you some of the other accessories and products that you may need to get you along the day while you're out in the field. One thing you need to really look at is your arrow selection. Arrows come in a variety of different materials. Here I've got, it's a full fiberglass arrow. It's a good, stiff, sturdy arrow, and it has a muzzy tip on the end. And the way that this thing works is, after you shoot the fish, when the arrow comes back through the fish, these barbs go down, and that's what holds the fish onto the arrow. And when you get the fish back up on the bank, what you want to do is push the arrow through the fish, give it about a 1 1/4 rotation, and your barbs will flip back for easy arrow removal. A couple other kind of arrows that I shoot with, like I talked about earlier, is the Yellow Jacket. Now it is a fiberglass and carbon fused arrow. It is more sturdy, more rigid. You can pretty much shoot at rocks and it'll deflect off and won't bust. It's a real good arrow if you're in a lake area. Now this arrow is tipped with an interlock 2-barb grappler. The 2-barb grappler is really good for bigger, heavier skinned fish. It's the only drawback to it is whenever you go to pull this arrow out, instead of just doing a 1 1/4, you have to take this tip completely off, and that will let your barbs go forward and you can release it. Now, one thing you want to be careful of is on the end of this is a little plastic bushing. Now that bushing needs to be there, because if it doesn't, this tip will not lock down very well. Now the third kind of arrow that I use, and I mainly use this for big head carp, is the AMS Tiger Shark. Now this is a fully carbon arrow. It's got a sleeve inside of it, so it is very rigid. Now one thing you want to be careful of, this thing can break, but it's very tough to break it. I've only broken a couple of them. And it is tipped with a interlock 3-barb grappler. And like the 2-barb, you have to take the tip all the way off to get the fish off. Now this 3-barb grappler, as you can see, it opens up pretty wide, and it'll hold a big fish, and you won't have any trouble getting it in. Now some of the other things that you need to look at is in your bottle reels, you need line. You can purchase 200-pound braided Dicron line. It comes in a variety of colors. I prefer the orange because it's high visibility. Other things that I carry with me, I carry a 2-part epoxy. So when I'm shooting and you made especially with your fiberglass arrows that just take a regular knock, you may knock this knot completely off. And if you only have one arrow with you, you gotta be able to fix it real quick. So what I have here is I got a little tool kit. It's got everything I need in it. And what I keep in there, I keep extra tips. I've got tips for my muzzy tips. I also have extra tips for my interlock tips. Now you want to make sure that you keep these nice and sharp. If it starts to dull up after hitting a few rocks, that's not going to go through a fish that well. It's going to make a big hole, and the fish is likely to come off if you ever shoot it. Now I also keep extra safety slides. I keep the bump stops for the safety slides that go onto the arrows. And I also keep extra screws for my retriever on my bow. I keep string wax. Anything that I think I might need that I could lose in the field, I try to buy extra of. Like I said, my extra knocks. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is how to tie your bow fishing line onto your arrow. Now, you want to get you enough line out that you can kind of work with it a little bit. Now, if you're using an old line, you want to inspect it for any kind of frays. You know, this string's pretty wore out. It's got some bad spots in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back until I find some good string. I'm going to take it and I'm going to cut it off. Now the reason for this is you know, these arrows are going through fish. The fish have scales. You know, the scales will cut them, and the side of your boat, or if you're dragging them up on ground, it's going to tear this line up just a little bit. So you want to make sure that your line stays good. I'll discard that piece, and I'm going to use the AMS Tiger Shark here because this is my big fish bow. Now the best way to tie this on is you take your line, and what you want to do is you want to come through the underside of your safety slide. And once you get it through there, it may take a little, you pull it up and over. Now there's a channel on one side of the safety slide. You want to make sure that line goes in on that side. That'll help keep it seated down on there. Then you run back through the other hole, and now you have started your loop. Now the way I do it is I run my safety slide all the way to the top of my arrow. I pull about 4-6 inches of the tail out of the safety slide. Let me get this. And then I just double them up, and I take it and I wrap it around my finger. Now I'll take this off. You don't want to get it too tight, it'll be a little tough. You Take that off and you've got you a loop. Now you want to slide that loop over the top of your tip and slide it down the shaft. Make sure that you hold this loop and it doesn't come apart. Now it'll slide over your safety slide and to the back of your arrow, and that right there will start your knot. Now you want to get it where it's just past the knot, and once you get it, you want to pull it tight. Cut off any excess, and now you have a line attached to your arrow that no fish is going to be able to pull off. Okay, so now I got your bow, you've got it set up, you've got your arrows and your tips and all the accessories that you've wanted to start bow fishing. Next thing is to go find you a body of water and go shoot some fish. Now, at first, if you've never bow fished before, you're going to have a little trouble. And one reason is because of refraction. Now, refraction is the bending of light between one substance to another. And that bending is caused by the differences in density between the two substances. So what that means is if you're walking up on a bank and you see a fish, say he's 10 feet out there, he looks like he's only a foot below the water. Okay, so you think your fish is 1 foot below the water. Well, with refraction, he's really deeper than what he is. And the best way to explain this is if you take a glass of water and you stick your straw down in it and you look at it, your straw's bent. Well, that's refraction. Light is bent in water and it kind of distorts it a little bit. So in actuality, your fish could be anywhere from 1.5 down to 2 foot deep. So the way that you compensate for that is you aim low. So we got us a little fish, and he's down there happy-go-lucky, and you walk up. What you want to do, instead of aiming straight at your fish, aim below him. Remember, always aim low. If you aim at him, you're going to shoot over the top of him every time. If you aim low, you better your chances. If you have any more questions about bow fishing, contact us at info@greeneoutdoors.com. Thank you.